And again, with the recording, might not be super likely to be seen, but if you don't want anywhere to be seen per se, you can switch off the camera. Otherwise, it's lovely to see beautiful faces. All right, we'll move to speaker now. So welcome everybody to the ERA of ARCHAIM's session. It was very positively requested from our Divine Mother Creator to actually start sharing information that perhaps all of these years we might have kept a little bit more exclusive to the light workers. But it is time, as Divine Mother enters this realm and starts becoming very present, very active, to actually accompany information that is coming from her and the processes that are coming with our service, as all of us as the light workers feel and understand that our service is changing. We have done really good job, pat on the back, until now. And I really want to acknowledge and thank each one individually and all of us, because this was colossal, magical task that we carried out over millennia. And now we are experiencing the grand shift. However, the job doesn't stop, which means our way of service is activated now for the ARCHAIM era on the planet. So let us just for a moment place our hearts and hands together and just breathe deeply within our being and beautifully ponder upon these miracles, upon this magic, upon this U-turn, return, and feeling arriving home in the place that we've never left. As the heavenly vibrations for the earth are not just a place, it's a state of consciousness. And it's a state of complete renewal and the new configurations. Love and light, love and light, love and light. And allow me now to share the screen so we can bring some powerful information into our conscious awareness and automatically in our divine spaces. It's all about the return of the Divine Mother into our experience, potently and magically. Kuan Wan, bringing the new world consciousness is yet another name for her, quantum unity alpha aleph in neutral. She has sent and empowered all of us, the light workers, as her source force, and we are changing the world. She is now entering the realms through the Antarctica portals, activated the Antarctica masters that we know and expected as a Maitreya office, much different than maybe what was anticipated, and yet it is happening. Bringing this world from harm to harmony, unification of one and many. She's entering in her Trinity facet as Sephira Hatzilut Ama Reyes. Let's just simply feel the vibrations, may not necessarily sense that as a name or additional names, and yet it is the vibration that we all, as we are aligning now with the Antarctica portals, that we resonate with. Already there are Heaven 11 dual masters that act through Antarctica as the harbingers and teachers to humanity for the new civilizational patterns. We're going to recite their holy names and again feel if there is any specific vibration that is calling more or all of them at the same time. Mai sai oberon, mai tie vernef, mai tia somta, mai har nobel, mai ra rashta, mai lor samera, mai sam alban, mai tor avatar, mai sad zeroel, mai zekapadi, mai sarya. So we are here to understand maybe a little bit more about the opening of the archimes. As new technologies are coming upon our plane, and we are all called to share and co-create and bring not just information, but actual full-on processes, downloads, and activations. So the era of archimes has started, and I'm just going to bring to our awareness among the recent events, because this is really new, so to speak, on the planet, how the archimes already placed the powerful effect. Arc is one particular aspect of the dome. So as we are talking arcs and archimes, we are also talking the domes, the resonant chambers for the high frequency magnetic energy. And arc is agreed. These are photos from Malta, where one of the 33 world archimes is located. Again, we are not talking geographically, we're only going to use that as a description. However, archime is much higher vibrational presence on the planet than just the location. However, it is useful for our logical mind to be included and to understand it in that way as well. Nothing is excluded, everything is included. So one of the members of the Source Force was just here on Malta at this particular space where you can see one ear and one eye and one bird are depicted exactly at the time when the burial of the Queen Elizabeth II was happening. And it was quite interesting to observe the dome configurations and the symbols as we were, or the world was saying farewell to the seemingly just the monarch, with many attributes, lots of people approving and liking, lots of people disapproving and hating, and yet she was showing up as a powerful, powerful light worker. And here are the first effects of archimes that we might very briefly explain. Elizabeth II and Elizabeth I were exactly the same light worker in the continuation. This is the last known portrait of Elizabeth I, and as you can see, she's holding in her hand an arc. It is called the rainbow portrait, but as you can see again, this doesn't look like rainbow in any shape and form. There are no colors. She is holding an ark and anticipating these times. Many other aspects of interest can be seen on this portrait, like the snake on her left arm, Kundalini rising, and then coming to the figure 8. As you can see, the snake is interloping and then creating the circuit, and in her mouth there is the sangria color heart, the key to humanity, the heart of this wisdom. And she is dressed in these robes that are covered with one eye and one ear, omni seeing, omni hearing. And here she says, without this rainbow, there is no light. Simply saying that without arcs and archaims and the new configuration, there is no truly enlightenment on the planet. The hand of God and many other aspects that could be seen much more in detail when we have time to explain during the further Archaim series, but today just like a briefly going through that. The dragons of the Hertogenbosch. Very powerful point in the opening of the Archaims throughout Europe. Queen Elizabeth, again, II, when she was receiving her druid type of initiation, so she was much more than what was meeting the eye. So at the time of her passing, the world experienced these very interesting rainbows, but double rainbows appearing all over England. So the dual arc, the double arc of the Archaims. And they were seen on many photos. And again, the ceremony of her burial was happening into these superbly pointed arc vibrational resonance chambers. Of course, we know them as a particular churches and spaces and whatnot. However, Divine Mother has been preparing the planet and the humanity for these times in so many ways, visible and invisible, and many buildings are actually incorporated with the very specific geometries at the very specific power points on the planet, and nobody was the wiser what their purpose would have been. So now during that ceremony, I was also part of, the calling for all of us light workers to assist. So that night was very interesting night. And under the dual arcs, the double arcs of Westminster Abbey, we had the so-called leaders of the world gathered together seemingly for the funeral. However, Divine Mother had a super powerful, very interesting agenda, because these beings were blasted under the dual arc with the divine frequencies, which is also part of the awakening of the planet, and the so-called dark forces are no exception. They're also going through the transformational aspect, which allows the entire good and bad, black and white to complete, and the Archaim era starts. So that was interesting to see, because they didn't have access to the grid anymore. It was a total panic. It was very interesting to observe on the night how these vibrations worked. So we will be, of course, explaining in a due time much more and all the symbology and the meaning, but suffice to say that there is rarely one person on the planet that was able and capable of putting all of the leaders seemingly of the world from the dark forces under the same arc and blasting them in such a manner. So we will have other explanations in a due time, but for now, very important to completely let go of the judgment of what's good, what's bad, because Divine Mother works through absolutely everything. Other aspect of the arc that was opening and is already in action is the activation of the arc in our brain, the area called hippocampus, that are two arcs on each side of the temples. But in truth, when they come into alignment, and we were given these very powerful light codes and the sun codes that are allowing the hippocampus or the personal arc in our brain, in the physical brain, to actually come together and unify into the arc. If we are to be arcane beings, if we are to be part of the global cosmic grid, we need all these activations. Hippocampus comes from the name for the tiny little seahorse, which is known as the hippocampus. So again, much more explanation about all this will be happening during the series, but today just like a first little introduction. The power of 33 and the activation of the hippocampus or our personal arcs through the power of 33 degrees forward, 33 degrees backward, for our head, receiving the sun codes at exactly 3:33 every day. We can practice this. And that particular technology was already shared. If somebody hasn't got it, let me know, contact me, and I will send you how it is done. The geometries that many times have been utilized by the seemingly dark forces as like a stolen spiritual heritage. We are claiming it back. There is no more using of the symbols, vibrations, grids, and so forth for the seemingly illusionary world. Rorare codes, or the sun codes, sovereignty codes, because the moment we activate our personal arc, we are a sovereign being. There is no possibility for us to be controlled or part of any other agenda, grid, energy, vibration, and so forth. We become truly, deeply sovereign in our form. So humanity truly, with the activation of the archaims, is moving from the slave and grave reality to the sovereign reign. So recently, many aspects of opening of the archives happened. So I'll just very briefly go through that so you can have them in your conscious awareness, whether further information will be needed. Obviously, it will come. There is lots of information, but we'll just be quick and succinct tonight. So the Fantail comet in June this year, that literally created this kind of a vibrational pathway, spiraling arc. So she brought the vibration of the arcane very specifically to the solar system and to the planet Earth, and then zoomed around the sun and disappeared. The journey I was given to do as a part of my mission as a light worker, so I will share this, and it would be awesome to find out how we all worked and our pieces of the puzzle come together. This is the flight I've taken to Europe after all the dramas, and all of a sudden vaccine-free people like ourselves can travel. And next minute I know I'm on the Qatar Airways. Even that, landing in the Qatar land in France for the opening of the first arcane in actually the precursor of the first arcane, to be more specific, in Paris, the ley line of Mary Magdalene. So I'm actually arriving in the Qatar land. So if you look at the arc-a, Qatar is the Ka and the R in reverse. So this is over the Black Sea. So many very interesting vibrations were going in, 5 to 8 specifically. This is just below Ukraine and all that drama over there. But 5 to 8, 5 to 8, 5 to 8 was blasting through these waters. And the first arrival there was first actually in Paris and activating the children. You wouldn't believe how many children in this like seemingly fun park were very, very agitated. For 2 days, it took a very specific codes and the arcane gathering because the children were showing the humanity being in revolution against the old reality. So it was very interesting to observe and bring the code. So this is all part of the opening of the arcane. That's why I'm mentioning it. There are 33 arcanes around the planet, and so the human energy system, the new light body, resides now within the frequencies of 33 vortexes, not just 7 chakras in a linear formation, but the vortex rose chakras. Let's use that terminology for a moment. They're not chakras as we used to know them. So the same is true for the planet, the same is true for the body with these vibrations. Sangria color is also a very powerful aspect of that awakening. Next level in France, this is the Arc de Triomphe. This is the specific ARCHAIM configuration, which was lying exactly on the rose line that Mary Magdalene activated. And she kept it alive in the magnetic sense all this time until these modern times where we are stepping into that grid. It's now active. It was all ready, just like somebody needed to kind of put the plug in the, in the electricity socket. That's literally how all this opening of the archives were happening. So here I was on the, as you can see, the 8-pointed star and the arc sitting on top of it. I was just there on the top. Amazing work happened. I don't want to go again through details now because all the permissions are now given for this work to become more known. So more videos and more explanations will follow. But just important to know that the timelines were changed. And on the top of the Arc de Triomphe, it was opening of the ARCHAIM with this miracle that happened. The orb of light appeared from nowhere on the camera and unified with the eternal fire, which is below. So this was 58 meters down, and I was standing on top. And there is like a specific camera to which you can watch what's happening down. So this was the fire, and the orb came in and entered, and Divine Mother said, "Yep, ARCHAIM Paris is open on the ley line of Mary Magdalene." More arcs. We are not going to show the videos tonight, but as I'm promising, everybody who is interested will have access to all of this information. And this is on top now, again, opening in 8 directions. I was vortexing around it, sounding the light language. Perfect. Nobody arrested me or anything like that. It was just done in one amazing mission. The dragon egg as well was hatched and the arcs activated. As soon as that process was done, I'm looking around me on top of the Arc de Triomphe, and I was swamped by sangria color. It was everywhere. Divine Mother showed up amazingly through these colors and young people and everybody swamping. Again, magical aspects at Notre Dame and many other monuments that are lying on the rose line. So just to mention that Mary Magdalene traveled from the portal of the Middle East all across the Europe, Macedonia, southern France with the Catars, all across the ley line that we call Rose Line. And it is existing today as a meridian, which is named French meridian or Paris meridian. However, the dark forces have changed the original arc meridian for 2 degrees to the left to London. So again, as you know, the Greenwich became the main arc meridian. However, this process is brought that back together. So the distorted grid was reactivated back to its real, truthful geometries. And that was the purpose of this mission. All the meridian is marked with the little stones that are called Aragon, through Aragon beings as well. There is a green line now because they have planted trees all across the, all along the meridian. So magical things are happening. Divine Mother with the activations in front of Notre Dame. So that's the line of the Paris meridian and through France. And you can see further down goes through to Venice, which is again another important aspect. So just going quickly through all this, there are many, many activations in France. And this is now on the dune in southern France, where the golden sands are. Some of you have heard already some of this information, but it's very important for the ARCHAIMs. That dune of the golden sand just sits in a very unnatural way as a natural miracle, because it is on the Atlantic coast, close to Bordeaux, next to the city that is called Arcachon. Believe or not, this statue here was found at the base of the dune at this sand, which is surrounded with trees, golden sand on the completely rocky coast, like somebody opened the sky and poured all this golden sand down. And in the 15th century, again, pay attention, all the meaning of all this ARCHAIM opening with the 600 years ago happenings, which is the new wave of the awakening that hit our planet. So this statue was found by some fishermen at the base of the dune, out of nowhere, and they have built a church and named the city Arcachon. So it's the Arc and Sha. Again, as I say, many further information can be shared, but for now, just like a main point, so we can all feel the vibration and feel the connectedness. You can see here the city of Arcachon and the dune. This is the aerial look of the dune, so just all that sand. When I was standing there and the saints have to come with me, and Divine Mother said, now after the activation, the dune, the saints will move. And truly, within 3 weeks, there are those great fires in the south of France. Lots of this bush around it burned, and the saints moved inland. So she is not joking. If she tells us what happens, that happens. So here is after some of the devastation from the fires. And Divine Mother at Arcachon, that's the dune. You can see how interestingly she looks in the middle of the sea of trees. Further to the activation of the ARCHAIMs, the cave of Mary Magdalene, believe or not, that was actually from the Second World War, the submarine base that is changed now into the museum for art, and the art around, look at the sangria color, first of all, everywhere. The art is all on the walls as a projection. It is the projection of light. There are no physical paintings. I was in one moment surrounded with the Divine Mother vibrations, with her magical symbol. Again, we don't have time for all the aspects, and those videos are also very interesting, but we are just simply giving the basic information that was part of the opening of the ARCHAIMs. So all this in France is basically aligning the French meridian, the line of roses that Mary Magdalene traced, and then she did journey across the La Manche, Sha again, into England, and that's how she closed the gap energetically. And at this point of time, the gap was closed physically. So literally with these activations, the London and Paris meridians swapped together. The 2 degrees of separation, the 2 degrees of distortion was done, was ended. More powerful aspects, and Divine Mother everywhere. At this fountain, she again gave me vortexes around, again, light language in the waters, in the arcs of water. I mean, it's incredible how she works. So a lot has been happening across. You can see also some of the other ARCHAIM configuration, Barcelona, Mexico City, and this is the original ARCHAIM that was found in Russia that we are going to talk about shortly. So that was discovered several years ago with the satellite, that these particular configurations of the vortex cities that existed closer to 16,000 years. That has nothing to do even with the pyramids or the Stonehenge. These are so much older, like a pre-flood, the great floods. And again, these specific configurations speak. They hold vibration, they hold codes, and as they get activated, we have incredible new grid and a new consciousness that is supported by that grid on the planet, consciousness of unity, love, and magic. Again, some of the aspects that I'm just briefly showing you. The mirror in Bordeaux, mirroring the world. Sangria everywhere. And then we moved to Ohrid, to Macedonia, or Macedonia. That's the area where the very first ancient archaim was left by the Ariana. And Ariana is the light workers. So we are getting a deeper information now that the light workers arrived on this planet as a one coherent power of consciousness. We are not separate from each other. And we can place that in a timeline further than 22,000 years, but just maybe if we just stop there for a moment and say 22,000 years onwards, the work that all of us as light workers did, bringing the consciousness and the bloodlines and everything that was needed for humanity that was missing and forgotten, we have brought it back. And we have worked in a very specific ways. This area here, Ohrid, Macedonia, center of the Balkans, where the most rare crystal in the world resides, that's the Al-Shar crystal. Al-Shah means the holy door of divine. Al and Shah again. That crystal was of interest to NASA, have been tried to be utilized. It is the only one called lorandite that can absorb and transmit neutrinos. And that capacity is making it very unique. Again, we don't have time to explain everything, but that was the anchoring point for our arrival. We did arrive to Antarctica. We are the Antarctica dwellers as a mission group here. But this was the point where we entered the world. So that's the first mission that we did. Then groups of us went to the West, so to speak, and anchored so-called technological revolution for humanity. You would imagine humanity was reduced to simply surviving, and giving the technology was very powerful aspect. However, always let's be aware, we have done that task during the polarity times, which means the technology arrives and it's immediately almost like a split on two, to be used for good, but to be also used for bad. It was very tricky. So we have done all sorts of interesting jobs. So one was giving the technologies. Those groups of Ariana or light workers who went to the East, they have founded the grand civilizations and given the knowledge for this time, esoteric knowledge. So from the same source comes the Bible and the Talmud and the Kitab that later was distorted into Quran and so forth and so forth, Old Testament, New Testament, all of that. And on the further east, it was given the knowledge that became the Buddhism, the Hinduism, and the Tibetan technologies that were given at that time. It all comes from same source. Even today in India are still, alive some of the wording like Aryan or Aryans was like the caste of the knowledgeable teachers. And even the mystics of Himalayas and the mystics of India will tell you that that knowledge came from north, from these Aryan beings, like a tall, they saw them as a blonde, but that's not because they belong to the white race. They were seen as a blonde with blue eyes because they were holding the light. It was visible through their skin, through their appearance, so the true beings of light. So many words in the Sanskrit language still today are very similar to the Slavic languages that also originated from the original Aryan language. So that was the language of the light workers. And we have brought some interesting aspects from it that later on, the thinking changed, because originally it was thought that the knowledge to Europe came from India. But then when the genetic experimentation started, it became clear that there were no Indian genes in Europe, but there were ancient, minimum of 16,000 years old Aryan genes in center of the Balkans, and then all across Europe, and then across Iran and Middle East and so forth, and then across India as well, where these beings also spread the genetics as well, automatically, because they had to come in a physical format to spread the knowledge. And the third group actually came down to Antarctica. So Aryans have traveled through the both continents and created all the land coding, all the coding of the planet, coding of the continent of Antarctica, all ready for this time. So we have done incredible jobs. And after that, we have brought the knowledge and the energies through all the nations of the world. So we appear in like a genetically belonging to the white race or black race or yellow race or red race or whatever they want to call them, because these four original lineages were created divinely, but then were deteriorated really, really, really strongly. And the modern human race was only utilizing 4% of the DNA. And in their arrogance, the modern scientists, when they discovered the DNA coding and saw that only 4% is active, 96% is just sleeping, they called it junk DNA. Would you believe that like it is surplus? It's not needed, like divine will create 100% of something and then use only 4%. So Aryanas, the light workers, we came with the coding for awakening the rest of it. So our bloodlines that we brought back to the humanity, the original bloodlines, are of superb importance. And they're not only spread through the two strands of DNA in the biological sense, but as a much higher. Anyway, this is all across the Lake of Ohrid, where the opening of the ARCHAIM happened. So this is me in the plane, seeing on the screen where we are flying, and all sorts of codes were already showing, the light codes, the vibrational aspects that we worked with just after that. So this is the group, and we worked relentlessly in Ohrid under the arcs with symbols. This is the Macedonian crystal, a very powerful rose crystal that has got extremely interesting configuration, again quite rare, can only be found like a ruby, and it has got now international certification to be a ruby, but with a different specific geometries within. And that's how it comes. Always in the white quartz, there is a tiny little piece of the ruby. That's how it's always found. So that depicts the heart. So it is the vibration of the heart. So this is the Lake of Ohrid, where we worked over this period of time. The opening of the University of the Universe happened because in Ohrid there was the Arcturian teachers in the 9th century, in the year 888. They have opened the first university, and this is known through history. They have educated 3,000 students in esoterics, in healing, clairvoyancy, geometries, and so forth. And now the tradition is back and continues. This is the group. We worked in the monasteries. And again, have a look. This is the ark in the newly freshly rebuilt monastery. And in this ark alcove, they were saying they will have an artist to depict the Divine Mother. And our vibrational presence brought her in before any other art. This is her in the ark. Magical times, magical happenings, activating vortexes all over the place, activating the arcs. And this is something which is very, very potent, which I want to share tonight for everybody who is interested into the ARCHAIM vibrations and how they came above. this is a special room that has been created for the highest priests of the Orthodox Church into this monastery. Before they could create anything there, we as light workers got the access to the room, and we have activated the 33 archaims. There are exactly 16 beautiful chairs, like a red sangria chairs, and exactly 16 8-pointed stars on the floor. It was 33 of us in the room where I'm standing under the crystals of the chandelier. That's the Antarctica, the 33rd archaim. So 16 of us were sitting on the chairs and 16 were standing, and then we changed around. And the activation of the 33 archaims of the world happened in the room that showed now the light workers are the leaders of the world. We are the highest priesthood of the world. It was incredible how she created all of this to happen and unfold, because these templates become global templates. It is not just several people in the room doing something. This is all on the ley lines, on the grids, on the vibrations, supported by the cosmic divine vibrational technologies, and it all happens. People were crying. We all felt we have done this before. There were various symbols again in the room. This is us now standing and bringing the archaims into embodiment with happiness, with joy, with laughter, activation of 33 archaims of the world. So this is us again, all under the arcs. There was some partying as well, I must say. Lots of magic occurred when the first archaim of the world was opened. The lake of Ohrid lies on a very specific configuration because all the vibration from the crystal Al-Shar comes under the mountains into the lake. And it is a very potent area. From that, it goes in every water of the world. And that's how divine has been bringing the codes, the light codes through the crystal, through the waters. They become magnetic codes, and through the lake go out into the waters of the world. That lake changes water every 24 hours. It's the size of Taupo, but the water comes in and the water goes out. It's a crystal clear waters, and many unusual aspects around that lake as well. Yoshetsugal, the Tigris, and now Antarctica, activating the archaims, and Antarctica as an archaim. You can see that Antarctica was the largest dome of the planet. The dome of the ice. The ice became the biggest crystal. And as you know, this ice is not salty water, it's a fresh water. 77% of the fresh water with the superb magnetic powers was actually creating a dome over Antarctica. Again, many beautiful things happened, which you will have to see and feel. This is the little church of the Holy Mother with the waters inside. And this is the dome of the omniscient eye, where we had a That was the activation of the spine as a divine spine, and the dome of the humans, which is the skull, and the arc of the humans, which is within the brain. And this was that interesting photo that Tess was inquiring about. I think left the information in the groups. And the question was, what has happened in Bulgaria? So exactly at that time, actually happened in Macedonia. And that was the activation of the first ARCHAIM. And obviously the light depicted that in this fashion, completely connected. ARCHAIMs, ARCHAIMs, ARCHAIMs. Now to give one other aspect of the ARCHAIM and why these activations are so potent and important, and to see and feel how you all resonate with these vibrations. Again, this information can be shared further through the recording and so forth. But we need to be aware of the happenings. So now the grid has changed, the ARCHAIMs are open. The so-called negative forces do not have much maneuvering possibilities, and they are simply asked to surrender and move into the neutral. And they do, majority. However, these objects that I'm showing here are present in the area called Nur-Sultan in Kazakhstan. So this is exactly under the ARCHAIM that I've showed at the beginning that was discovered in Russia. So that very ancient ARCHAIM that was unearthed within the last several years. The so-called negative forces, obviously stealing the geometries, stealing the ways of how the energies are worked with on this planet, trying to reverse them and use them for so-called bad and evil. They have created in Nur-Sultan these buildings. This is the pyramid where the world leaders gather. Just at the very top there is a special chamber where they come together. Recently, they had the summit of the Islamic and Catholic leaders to create Chrislam, Christianity and Islam together. So humans are not, it's not possible to control them anymore through different religions. So they're desperately trying whatever may work. So Islam, no thank you. In this city, there was so-called summit of the World Health Organization that changed the special documents that were signed back then about global health control. On the base of that document in 1998, I think it was done, all the rubbish that occurred with the COVID and so forth happened. It was given the legal ways. So this was an area where the negative forces truly tried to reign through the consciousness, through the grids. The name of this area, of this city, which is very, very new, it is built in the last 20, 30 years. It's not like an ancient city. The name of it is Astana, which in Kazakhstan apparently means the capital city, something that rules. Astana, when you change the first as to sa, spells Satana. And for a moment, just be aware, as the Divine Mother returned, as the Divine Mother is here, as the Barbelo, like the self-created being that creates everything, she gave us a very specific knowing. Satana will bow to Barbelo, or bows to Barbelo. And in this area, even it was erected by the negative forces, it is actually hijacked by the Divine Mother as the area of the end game. This is where it all ends with the Satana forces, the negative forces, devil, whatnot, are surrendering to Barbelo, to the Divine Mother. That was incredible. So these are many buildings that were erected here, very modern, very unusual, all in sacred geometries, the domes with the spikes on the side, very interesting aspects, old Orthodox churches. different geometries that you will find when we talk about this more in details during our series. They all have certain aspects. Here is the Earth trapped in the spikes. You can see the planet in the spike grid. No, thank you. Geometries of the parks, of the roads, everything in this city was erected with a special purpose. The Golden Gate. These buildings are also on an angle. They're not standing vertically. They are built on a very unusual angle as transmitters for the grid. This is the DNA, distortion of the DNA, all in the buildings, in the aspects that may not be easy to understand if you don't know what we are looking for. The dome with the spike on the top. Again, this in winter, and this is the pyramid that I've showed you at the beginning. So look at the parks around the pyramid. Can you notice the geometries? Can you notice the symbology that the white light workers use for white and the dark forces are trying to use in reverse? Again, no more. All this ends in appropriate time as the archives are being activated. So one interesting thing that happened as well, and I'll show you very, very beautiful video, which is so dear to me because it's done by my son. So as soon as I came back from Europe with the sands from the south of France, from the Mary Magdalene landlines, and further aspects that arrived from all everywhere, and from New Zealand, the black sands and the white sands from east and west coast of New Zealand, I really felt these sands need to go to Nur Sultan, need to go to Kazakhstan under the Central Archive. So that one in Russia is the Central Archive. We have opened the first one, ley line in Paris, the first archive in Ohrid in Macedonia, and this is the Central one. And I'm just thinking, how is this going to happen? My son, who is a tennis umpire and travels around the world on different tournaments, he decides in September to come home. Usually he comes only Christmas time in December. But I just felt a bit tired, want to come home, rest, relax a little bit. And where are you going for the next destination? Oh, he says, I'm going to Kazakhstan for a tournament. I'm saying, what? Oh, which city? Nur Sultan. Initially, I thought it will be the Alma-Ata, which is previously the capital of Kazakhstan. However, this is in Nur Sultan, and then I'm discovering all this meaning of Nur Sultan. And I'm saying, okay, darling, you need to take this sand and you're going to place it somewhere, wherever you feel this connection needs to be made between France, through Macedonia. There are sands and water from Macedonia as well. This needs to go to the Central Archive. We are connecting all these arcs. And this is what he sent me from that mission.
Hello, Mother. So here I am, fulfilling your wish. Got the sand here. You know, sorry, I couldn't get to these pyramids and stuff. Today is the last day, and you know, I've been working, but I'm here in this lovely park in Nur Sultan. So I felt like this was a good place to drop a little bit, and not just here, but I will show you another place as well. So I don't know, you know, you didn't give me any specific instructions, but here, kind of under the tree a little bit there, and you know, to spread it around a little bit. Can go some others under this tree here. Here we go. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. There you go. I don't know what this is doing for you, but also the reason I chose this park is I found this cool little house. It's upside down, so while it's not a pyramid, here you're gonna see it here. So there it is. It's not really a pyramid, but it kind of reminded me a little bit of an upside down pyramid, you know, you see here with the thing. It's really cool, it's pretty funny, and it's in the middle of this park. I don't really know what it is or what it signifies or anything, but everything inside upside down, So the closest I can get you to a pyramid is here. So I felt here is the energy for you. Crazy things I do for you, Mom. Not believing in any of this, but here you go. It's all for you. Here, pyramid from the back. Okay, so yeah, here it is, the park. I think this nice little tree here, we'll put the last little bit and save the rest, the other half, for Almaty. So there you go, all done now. The world is changed. Love you.
And indeed, my darling, the world is changed. Even who does not believe exactly or fully understand, purity of heart, divine works through everybody. We have arced or activated the arc between the West and the East magnificently. And now that takes us further to New Zealand, to the happenings here with the further activation of the archimes and our beautiful Melanie, such a powerful light worker, part of so many communities of the light working around New Zealand and part of the Source Force as well. Now she put us together. There is such an importance of us stepping together. This is the activation on the East Coast on the 29th, after the eclipse, after the 22nd of October. So that was the huge activation between 22nd October and 11th November. This world is not going to be recognized. It's moving upside down. As you have seen actually in that video from Nur Sultan, would you believe the house, where people dwell, the living place of people, which is our planet, that was upside down. So we are now changing it back into the truth. All the upside down vibrations of the illusion are now being brought into the truth. So many symbologies. So we have done certain activation here with Melanie's family and her spiritual family. And among the other things, I just want to show you something that we have discovered. Both me and Terukura walked the 8 that presented itself and the ducks that showed up in the ceremony as the Raki. So just completing the ceremony that the family of Melanie placed in, and knowing that with these ceremonies across from the 22nd, the 10th to the 11th, we were working a lot with the duck energy. So here there are 4 ducks appearing and showing up at the spot, which felt so potent and powerful for the ceremonial aspect that it's unbelievable. Just on the very grass, you're going to find, I'm going to actually walk it, it is a figure 8. Have a look. Double arc for the archimes of the world. And that first circle connecting now with the second circle. Perfect. As you can see, it was everywhere, and Melanie was such a huge part of these activations. Magic, magic, magic was unfolding. On the next day of the 30th, we had the ceremony in the Temple of Sha, which was the heart of the dragon. So on the East Coast, we activated the right wing of the dragon. This was the heart with the fire ceremony on the 30th, with the bloodlines, with the liquid crystals that show up. The Divine Mother with us. And this photo even gives us an arc, looks exactly like the golden arc and the bloodlines flowing. The next day on the 31st, we were on the West Coast, now activating the so-called left wing of the dragon. And that was magic and incredible. Here we are on Kariotahi Beach, starting the ceremony, bringing all the elements of the ceremony together. Tereukura was officiating as the end of life for Malani, but also return of the goddess and U-turn, so bringing the arc. So we basically created the connection between West Coast and East Coast as an arc, which was going directly across the Bombay Hills. If you recall, on 13th February, specifically 2021, we as light workers activated the rose vortex on top of the Bombay Hills. So the vortex active, which gave birth in these times to the arcs and archaims. Tereukura created on the sand, Malani is part of the circle or of the basically cube of Metatron that we created on 28 November 2020 in the activation of the source force. And Malani was literally creating on the same space in the sand. It was all incredibly orchestrated. Activation with sound of the bloodlines over the ceremonial fires. Malani's creation in the sand.
And as we are completing the ceremonial part, this arc just flew over us.
The arc came out of the sun, not the sun's on it.
Woohoo!
So the arcs have landed. We all know when we are gathering and for what reason and purpose. This is the magnetic sand on Fiona's phone, just like the new energy field, invisible field holds all the sand as a dome, crystalline dome. In memory of Malani, the co-creation, our priestess of the temple of Kopu, officiating the ceremony. And here was very interesting, 8-pointed star in the fire. First, the 3 spikes burned and the 5 were visible, because this transition is also from 5-pointed star configuration of humanity to 8-pointed star. Here is the 8-pointed star, and it was 5 of us on the beach and 3 dogs. So we had this incredible 5 + 3, 8. Everything was showing it up. One very interesting thing that happened when we entered the dragon's nest and went to the waterfall, for the first time we were able to smell very unpleasant smell. Usually energy there is beautiful. And we realized that there was a fish head that was rotting, and one of the dogs grabbed it and literally destroyed it, like transmuted it. The symbology of that was, first of all, with the saying that the fish stinks from the head, like basically all the governance of the humanity that was certainly rotten, was destroyed, and also the end of the era of Pisces, suffering and all of that. And then Tereukura washed the dog, so he received all these waterfall energies like we all did and shared into the divine cleansing for humanity. And then the dog found the last little bit of this fish head and crunched it away. So there is no trace left on the planet, and it will become much more visible as we go. Further ceremonial aspects. And the arcs showed in the sky. It was unbelievable as we were working. This arc comes through, flew above us. Second and third showed up as well. Here is.
And now as we have activated the liquid crystals, the original bloodlines of humanity as created by Divine Mother, the omen of the triple arc appears in the sky.
And one of them literally landed on the beach, flying above us and on the other side of the beach. And this is again from the nest, the dragon's nest. Tereukura took this photo showing the arc on the sand. The goddess that Leslie and team created on the first day of these ceremonies, again, the divine goddess mother and her arcs. beautiful vibrations that were brought. And this is the Metatron's cube that was brought on the same very sand on the 28th. And Malani's creation is on the far left. And that's where we have recreated it. And this is what showed in the sky today in the preparation for this work. The heart in the middle, the left wing and the right wing, exactly what we have activated, the dragon of New Zealand. The meaning of that is that Divine Mother comes back and she rides and resides on a dragon. And all the Antarctica forces and energies are now in alignment through this activation of the dragon of New Zealand, receiving Divine Mother. After that, on the beach, all night, I had part of the mission that was appointed to me to activate the Venus stars, as we have activated on the beach the triple star from 5 to 8 pointed. And these beautiful guys showed up. On one night, I have activated 111 of these star ARCHAIM. So there are ARCHAIM vortexes and ARCHAIM stars. So these are the stars that showed up incredibly potently. You can see how that looks like. That was the city of Palma Nova that was built by the Venetians. So this building in star formation comes from the Venetians. Again, Venus and the configuration of the Venus. Even in the ceremony, we had some Murano glass from Venice in Italy, that is, and the connection with that also exists powerfully. I'll just show you several of these across the world because it will be too many to show you all 100 that I've got photos from, but during our work, we will be connecting with them. Just have a look and connect perhaps, because during our ARCHAIM series, we will be working and all of us are interconnected with certain stars, ARCHAIM stars on the planet. France, Portugal, Japan, Denmark. This is the Palma Nova in Italy, created by the Venetians very near to Venice. Puerto Rico, Cyprus, Nicosia, Estonia, Canada, Portugal again, France, Spain, Croatia. And this is the ARCHAIM star that arrived, and we are going to work with this extensively during our ARCHAIM series. You will see the 888 star, the 2 diamonds in the middle, the second star, and the stars with the arcs, the dual ARCHAIMs, as our planet stepped into the higher ARCHAIM vibration. That is the third symbol also in the Reiki 888 family. The first ones, the Karai and Raman. Again, those who have done Reiki 888 know the meaning of this. For many other people will be coming and becoming as we go further into mastering these technologies. So the ARCHAIM series are starting from next month. It was very important to go through this period of time till the 11th of the 11th. We couldn't start today. It is all in the making. But today was very important to bring some of the knowing, some of the understanding. And we're starting with the Antarctica Masters. So everybody who is interested, first of all, you know that we have been working from 2012. Every first Wednesday of the month, it's a healing session in the evening, and we receive whatever needs to be received. All of us who turn up as seeding groups, and we have been doing the work all this time. So what is this bringing to us and to everybody else who wants to join? This is now open. I was given instruction to open it to everybody who is now ready. You don't have to have done this, that. You can feel simply through vibration. Are you called into this level of update and upgrade? We are making a U-turn in consciousness, and all of us, like light workers, are also part of this aspect. It's a U-turn for us as well in our mission. To receive Mother God, she says, very important 3 aspects that this series will bring us. We need open mind, and that's how the ascension process started for humanity. And then open heart. Lots of work has happened, especially from 2012 till now, into opening the heart for humanity. But Divine Mother says, now we need also open body, because we are going to embody Divine Mother. Not just us light workers who have started these processes already, but humanity. So open mind, open heart, and open body is one of the objectives and what everybody receives when we do this series. It will activate our arc between the third eye and the temple. Already the process with the sun codes is starting that activation of the arc by moving the head 33 degrees forward, 33 degrees backward. There will be light body expansion, as our light bodies were kind of created as an embryo. And we have started our embryo globe, or say we'll call it fireball. So Antarctica masters already gave us, or Divine Mother through them, the fireballs, the seeding. Now the light body needs expansion. That's why we also did the series of plasma feeds, because light body needs energy to grow and the planet needs energy to grow. So all the nonsense about global warming and why it is not bad is just that, just nonsense. Energy that is arriving on the planet is extremely needed, and more will be arriving and is arriving. We'll be receiving our bloodlines that were sitting dormant within the DNA. The Holy Grail configuration of the magnetic field. Everybody who knows a bit of the physics have probably heard the magnetic field is now vortex. It's a Holy Grail. It's not linear. North Pole is moving 55 kilometers every year. It's already in Russia, moved from Canada. And as the planet is rotating, it actually does the big wobble, and the South Pole in Antarctica is not moving. So it is like a vortex configuration, and that is going to be represented into our bodies, not just the planet. Divine spine will be activated, and divine spine means instead of those 33 vertebrae that are just like stuck together in a linear fashion, now the 33 archaims are all connected with particular vertebrae in function. So the vertebrae become like a little say projector of 360 degrees. Every vertebrae will be activated to project energy 360, not just like a linear up and down. So all of this will be explained much more, but just for the moment, giving some highlights. So the spine and the dome, which is the skull and the spine tower in the human body, are becoming power tower and home dome. That is the domain of Divine Mother. The human brain, the human intelligence is now governed by the divine energy under the holy ark, under the holy dome. There is the domain of Divine Mother, spreading the intelligence of the new activated human beings that we can call arcas. I don't know which word will be there really, but for a moment this will do, because as she was saying, the arcs bring exactly that next level, that next template, that next activation for humanity. Similarly, as we have angels and archangels, and then bishop, archbishop, and we have arc humanity. And the sovereign reign begins, which means there is no more deactivation and pain and suffering caused by the submission or dominance. That kind of game is fully done and fully uncreated now. So this and more will be given through Divine Mother and Antarctica Masters. Whoever feels connected with these, please, let's join in. We will be working over the next 33 sessions, and that's once a month. So this is like a longer haul. So each month will be activation of certain arcane connectedness with us, further activations of our light bodies, and also of the global human light body, human light consciousness, as the Antarctica Masters bring completely new codes for every area of life, including what we call governance, health and wellness, politics, economy, whatever is the way how humanity is going to create from now on. So welcome, welcome, welcome. And of course, all this has been happening a lot through New Zealand portals, as New Zealand is the dragon and the first light and brings the vibration further and foremost. All the beautiful energies that arrived and were activated on New Zealand. You remember we've mentioned 600 years ago, the new wave came. So what happened? Maori people arrived to New Zealand. America was discovered seemingly. In India, we had Chaitanya Prabhupada creating the revolution in the old ancient teachings. Reformists for Christianity, we had Buddha bringing the vibrational knowledge of the scriptures from 29,000 verses into just one Heart Sutra. So everything was preparing for these times. The revolution in technology happened and so forth, all between the black and white and with the polarity aspects and here and there and with the suffering and pain and this and that. However, we made it up to here. New Zealand had an amazing role from the 1st to 11th February 2020. The Temple of Divine Mother opened between the two islands, showing New Zealand rising in its magical frequencies. More arcs. 28 November 2020, the Source Force anchoring at the Dragon's Nest, which is not just Source Force for us as a group or organization, it is global Source Force in a full action. This is the spot where we actually worked with the Metatron cube. You can see we've saw the circle, must be done by the car, but there are no tracks from the car to the circle. And this is exactly where we worked on Monday, 2 days ago. And as you can see, the closest to the Dragon River, it was Malani's part of the cube. And that's exactly where it was recreated, almost to the dot. Incredible overlapping, no coincidences. This is the dragon in the Dragon River, and this is us working on the anchoring of the source force for the world. 13th February, actually just prior to that in January, the Hopi Indian prophecies for New Zealand came through that the key will find the lock, and it did happened. Also on the Dragon area up north from Kariotahi Beach, this is us working there. And on the 13th February, we have opened the Rose Vortex for the world. This is us opening the new vortex for the new world, and the group further down, we're doing closing of the old world. We have just zoomed 88 circles like no tomorrow, and the group down was going close, close, close. It was a bit more difficult for them. Magical people who gathered at the stupa on top of the Bombay Hills, opening. This is the resonance point with Antarctica. 369 codes on the 24th of July. Again, we gathered together with the dragons to activate and be rebirthed through the cosmic donut. And we had amazing backdrop for these ceremonies. That's also Malani here, going through her rebirth and then hugging. And lots of power activations that continued. So we got a little bit over the time that I have allocated, but hopefully it was still informative and powerful to know. And even this is the night for just information. Actually, one powerful process arrived if you would like to do it together. The actual program for tonight is now completed. If anybody needs to go, However, if you're willing to stay, I'm inviting you to meet with Divine Mother as she arrives through the Antarctica portals, through our city of Antos, just below the Mitre Peak on the South Island. It won't be long, but I feel like opening the space for that. So for those who wish to stay, let's begin with that process. Let's find ourselves on the Dragon of New Zealand. From the deep sound, from our hearts, the heart sound, activating the dragon. The egg of the dragon on the very bottom of New Zealand, the closest to Antarctica, Stewart Island. The tail of the dragon across the Southern Alps. Feel ourselves hovering further up the map of New Zealand, now crossing across the belly of the dragon, which is just between the two islands, where the temple of Divine Mother is. And as we see our dragon, we know that's one power point, the belly of the dragon. See the light, the vortex, the inner fire and the inner passion for creation, where the belly or the womb of the dragon is. And then we go further up and we open our wings to the east and the west coast. Our right wing is hovering above the wide island, and the left wing above New Plymouth. We know the power points and how the wings open across the waters. Taupo, the heart of the dragon, and again see the crystal of magical exchangeable light. And the magnetic tanda, as the light is created from the womb of the universe, from the sound. The magnetic tanda, the power of the electrical force, giving birth and sparks to the magnetic field. And magnetic field was dormant and sleeping, and the dragon is waking it all up. The ley lines fire up. The thunderous, magical, activated magnetic field and sound reverberates as we whoosh the wings. And we go further up at the upper heart, at the area of Bombay, the Bombay Hills, the vortex portal, where just in the last 20 years, 8 temples were erected exactly on the Lemurian temples. And now the mighty arc. The east coast and the west coast, just across the Bombay Hills, brings the dominion of the Divine Mother through the upper heart. The mighty instrument of light, magnetism, sound, and silence. The upper heart is the area of the deepest peace. And we go across Auckland area, the very neck of the dragon. And again, the whooshing and roaring sound that now starts to manifest from the belly, from the heart sound. It's now in the manifestation. Let's bring that manifestation for us, for the world, for the new civilization. There is no stopping us. And the dragon journey continues up to the very top of the Cape Renga, the crowning area, the top of the dragon field, another very potent energy point for the dragon gland, the dragon antenna. And at the King Islands, the crown of the dragon, and it's fully activated. It's whooshing the wind. The wings are going up and down and left and right, and it's taking its direction. And now Divine Mother says, I've arrived in Antarctica. Now I'm going to ride this dragon for humanity. We all find ourselves standing on top of the Mitre Peak on the South Island, the entry point for the Antarctica civilization, for our Ariana base, our Lightworkers base. And just relax into the free fall. We are falling through the Mitre Peak right into the center of Antos, city of light, magnetism, and sound. That is the Lemurian and Antarctica co-creation for these times. And through the corridors, under the waters, we are taken by our beautiful brothers and sisters that reside within the earth, and given the supersonic ride to Antarctica chambers. That's the sound frequency. Supersonic, the speed of light is surpassed by the speed of sound. In the Antarctica chamber, we meet with our Antarctica masters, with us as Antarctica, the first civilization of the earth, of the divine humans, the one that resided at the beginning, the golden civilization. And as the civilizations continued dropping further down, and then we had Lemurian civilization, and further down Avalonian, and further down Atlantean, where the separation was bigger and bigger and bigger. Antarctica portals were keeping the original one. And here we gather us, the surface crew and the inner earth crew together, celebrating the return of Divine Mother. In this crystalline, divine vibration, we are meeting her for the first time in the fullness of her presence. From the storm, she's here in the new form. From invisible and tangible, she becomes visible and tangible once again. Stay for a moment in her presence. Let's just breathe in her presence. Let our heartbeat echo in her presence. Let our blood flow in her presence. Let our emotions and mental fields melt in her presence. Let's feel, enjoy, activate, and be truly her children. Mother is back. She's now whooshing. And as we are in her embrace, she takes us on the dragon flight with her. Find your position, your place as the newly activated arcane being. As the arc means in the flower of life, we are now able to connect with all is. Let's take this flight for the first time with her. And she says, I am her. I am here. I hear you and you hear me. Here to that. And let's take our echelons. Position yourself into the geometrical, magical configuration that is us into the new world, into the new earth. Only consciously connected with all of our multidimensionality, with all the beingness of Divine Mother, prepared for the mission, New Earth. And let's fly. The era of ARCHAIMs indeed begins. But I think with Divine Mother brings tears to my eyes of joy. Let's ride and ride and ride. Never stop. Aketonu, aketonu. That's our new way of life. Free, sovereign, empowered, in oneness with our Divine Mother, Source. We are the force of magic. Let's be and do from this beingness. Karaira, karai rama. Sha'ash, ashti ra. Archaima ra. Archaima dar. Archaima star. Aketonu, aketonu. Couple of minutes of integration and feeling this empowerment, this new configuration, jumping up and down the arcs from Arctica to Antarctica and all the 360 arcs. New civilization begins, and soon we are going to have 11 months with 33 days, 360 days in our rotational year. Many, many changes. And she says from now on, the sun always shines and the moon is always full. When you feel you are completed, And feeling the body again and time, space, lace. You're focusing on the ambience, the sounds, including this voice. When we are ready, we can open the eyes. If you feel you need longer integration, by all means. I'm going to gently open the space if there are any questions, comments, or divine silence with the singing heart. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Wow, it's 11 participants. Oh, love it, love it, love it. Right, I think now we can activate our microphones if we want to. Well, thank you, everyone. Oh, this was beautiful. Are there any questions? Comments, anything before we complete?
It was very powerful.
Oh, darling.
Yeah, I loved it. And I just wanted to share too that I found a duck recently, and then of course you're talking about Melanie, so it's like, yeah, this is definitely, it feels like it was connected to her, because I only recently found that, and it was when I was taking my mother out for lunch for her birthday, so it was like celebrating the mother energy, and yeah, Melanie felt very connected to that.
Puivai was saying that the name for duck is Raki.
Raki, yeah.
And if you recall, on the 10th of the 10th, when both you and me worked for the ceremony for the 22nd at the temple in Kopu, Raki was there in the line of activation. And,
That's right.
and I recall that on that day, you have found in the woods the crystal in the form of the womb. So that arrived for that ceremony.
Yes.
So now the following day after the 22nd, I was at the Temple of Divine Mother, and then across the road in the St. Margaret Gardens, these incredible codes came into the Emerald Lake. When the 8-pointed star was being brought in, there were 8 ducks on the lake. And they just went from one side to the other, did the U-turn, came back. When I was anchoring the 5-pointed star on the other side of the lake, 5 ducks came on the water. Information like that and travel. It was incredible. There must be deep connection with the return of Divine Mother.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely calling the energy in, that's for sure. Because they mate for life as well. Yeah. The divine union.
Yeah. And they're able to shake off anything through the power of their wings.
Yes, that it's like falls off a duck's back. They're actually there as a medicine for us to learn to do that, because we're going to get the haters out there. You know, we're going to get the dark forces trying to, you know, to cast shadows on all the light, because it's so strong. It has to go somewhere.
Well, it was so interesting that with this new empowerment and us stepping into the ARCHAIM configurations, Divine Mother literally says now we are untouchable, invincible. So please don't jump from the roof though, straight away. But looks like it's truly end game for the negative forces. It was amazing to see all that structures they have built around the world, and then especially at that Nur Sultan Astana place. that Divine Mother just takes that into the upside down, the upside down house, to turn back.
That was perfect. I just saw that as the, that was definitely the womb, wasn't it? Felt like it was going into that divine feminine portal. Mm.
Yeah. We are birthing ourselves in the new. Beautiful, beautiful. Oh, thank you so much. And you see how we have all been aligned for so many missions together. So boom, 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 boom from each side. We just
Really, quite a few. Like I was actually realizing that I was there at the Rose Dome over, in that divine temple up in Matangi, and yeah, quite a few. Yeah, one over in Kariotahi and the donut,
Yeah.
and then both the ones that Melanie's had, which was actually involving the dragon, because that's also a very strong medicine. I am a dragon. You can probably hear it in my voice. Yeah, I feel like a dragon.
Nature comes through. Woohoo! No, it was how everything just falls into place, and there is no turning back. These are the magnificent times, and feels like after 11/11, the world is in a different place, space, lace. Magic. Beautiful. Thank you, my darling. So precious, and I'm so honoring you and all of us crisscrossing our paths when Divine Mother puts us together. No coincidence.
No, it's just been beautiful. It's been beautiful to meet all of your whānau too, and kia ora everybody. No doubt our paths will cross, or they will have already crossed.
For
It's
sure.
been magical. Thank you, sister.
For sure. Thank you. Thank you. Divine, beautiful priestess of Kopu Temple.
Oh, yeah, sister.
Would anybody else like to maybe bring something to our conclusion, or even how did you felt or experienced? What is the ARCHAIM era? Or feeling too mellow for talks? In that case, we can complete our session. Thank you for all within these seeding groups who shows up. And again, no coincidences. Thank you, Katie and Matey, for being the co-hosts. Love and blessings to all. We are giving thanks to the Divine Mother on her return and U-turn in the new configuration now. Giving thanks to all the beings of love and light who are assisting us. Giving thanks to ourselves for participating, showing up, and glowing up. As always, we are asking that all that is happening, all that we are accepting and receiving, is always for our highest good and the highest good of all. Ka, raira, rai, ra, ma. Shash, ashti, ra. Arkaimara, arkaima, dar. Arkaima, star. Aquieto nu, aquieto nu. Blessings. Blessings.